So let's get into it then. New season, FPL. What's the plan? So you got to get all the structural stuff figured out. So chip strategy first, because you need to know when you're going to wildcard. I mean, for me, basically, in a nutshell, it's probably wildcard 6, bench boost 2 is where I'm heading. Triple captain, free hit, I'll probably save. I'll talk about this in a minute. Just fast forwarding to the end of the season, it's pretty similar season to last season. Couple of differences though. One is we got an extra free midweek at the end of the season. I can't remember what the reason was for that though. They've shifted things around a bit. We've got an extra free midweek. So this was last season here, and we had like the EFL final. This is where everybody wildcarded in game week 32. Then this is where the big double is 33, and then there was this one more double in 36, and then a possible double 37 where they put the FA Cup finalists. Well, this time we got, that matches onto that game week 35, but then you got like an extra week because it finishes a week later because of the World Cup. It's all shifted, so you've actually got like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 double game weeks or 3 midweeks where you can put doubles. So basically, the end of the season, it might be really hard to predict where the doubles are going to go, and they might spread out. Like the idea that the EFL final games might get brought forward, it still could, but it doesn't have to anymore. Like they got quite a lot of room to just wait now. I think they probably will, but not sure. I'm probably still going to wildcard 31. It looks like that's the time to wildcard, and then the blanks from 33 will probably go to 32 like they did last time. But again, they don't necessarily have to. They could go to 35, maybe. Bit more time. So I'm not sure. It does change things a little bit. It's just less pressure. And the good thing about predicting is when you've got no choice where a fixture can go. When there's no choice, then it's much easier to predict because it's going to go here or go there. But this is much more less pressure, so it's going to be hard to know where things are going to go. But it's probably going to be about the same, and it's second half of the season. We don't have to think about it. So, but yeah, that's one interesting. There's one extra free midweek, and then also at the first half of the season, the Crystal Palace situation we had last season. We've got the same thing with Brighton, but it's not the same pressure. So here's Brighton in the Conference League, and in this game week 15. They're going to be playing a Conference League game, and if they get to the quarterfinal of the EFL Cup, they're going to clash in that week. And last season it was Crystal Palace, and they had that situation where they were forced to play cups or whatever, and only 2 days break caused a big problem. It didn't end up leading to a double and a blank, but it nearly did. Well, we've got a very similar situation here with Brighton this season, except the difference is in this game week here, which is before Christmas. They've got the Wednesday. I don't think I've lined up the fixtures, but basically you can play. The Christmas Eve is on the Thursday rather than the Wednesday. So they've got room to play their Europe Conference game on the Thursday. They can play their game week 16 game on the Sunday, and then whatever EFL game they get, if they were to get to the quarterfinal, they could play it on the Wednesday because Christmas Eve is on the Thursday. So I assume that's how it will be. This is basically what happened last season, where Crystal Palace Arsenal played in that week. He just moved to their EFL game. They just had to play it on like the Tuesday, and so they ended up playing Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, and that's why it was tight. But Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday will be fine. So basically I say that because I'm trying to wonder what's the chances of double game weeks in the first half of the season, and blank game weeks, and that probably won't cause a double or a blank. That's just I haven't spoken to anybody else about that. That's just me guessing from the outset. But I did look at this. This is like a little look at the last 11 years, postponements that have happened in the last 11 years. And there's only been 3 seasons where we've had no postponements at all. So it is kind of likely that there's a fair chance we'll probably get some sort of postponement. Now, like going back to 15-16, there was a bomb scare at Old Trafford. That was the last day of the season. So these are the whole season. So it would have to be the first half of the season for these to cause doubles and blanks in the first half. That was a New Year's Eve tube crisis in 17-18. Tottenham West Ham got delayed by 4 days. I don't know what happened with FPL, whether that was a blank and a double or what, but Beast from the East, that actually didn't cause postponements, but it came really close apparently. Obviously COVID, Queen's Death. There was a Storm, Ciara, Man City West Ham got postponed first half of this. Oh no, that was February. Burnley Tottenham, that was a snow blizzard, 28th of November, so that would have been a blank. Luton Stadium not ready, but we're not going to have any of that. Tom Lockyer had his heart attack in the game, that caused a blank, although we wouldn't have known that. But these kind of things can happen though, is what I'm saying. Everton Liverpool 24-25, that was Storm Darragh, that got cancelled 7th of December. So my thinking is I'm going to save free hit and triple captain just as late as possible, really, because you never know, especially in the winter. You never know, there could be a postponement. So I don't really need to bring it forward. Seems to me there's a fair chance something could happen. And then even if it doesn't, like with triple captain, Man City have got Hull somewhere there. Hull at home in 16. That's not bad. And there'll probably be some pretty good fixtures. Is that Liverpool got Hull as well? Liverpool got Hull away in 17. So I'll just wait. So that's triple captain and free hit. And then wildcard. I mean, I like doing an early wildcard. I mean, I say this every season, but it's like, you want a wildcard when you want to make the most wholesale changes to your team. And in the middle of the season, it's just kind of a waste because you're just ticking along with transfers. You don't need to use a wildcard. But at the start of the season, there's a lot of flux, new tactics, new players. So it's a good time to do it. 6 game weeks is usually a good amount of data, but you don't want to leave it too long at the start of the season. So, that feels like a good compromise. 5 game weeks of data, and then you do it on the 6th. That feels nice. The big thing is this international break. We've got a 3-week international break this season for anyone that didn't know. That's why we've got the extra time, by the way. I've just remembered. Because there's only 11 and a half midweeks, half weeks or something like that. Last season there was 6 weeks. This one is 5.5 weeks. Yeah. So it's got an extra half week, so that's why we got like an extra half midweek here, I think. That's how it works out. But yeah, so that 3 weeks, I don't fancy wildcarding before then, and then having to sit through that and imagine how many injuries you could get. I don't suppose there'd be huge amounts, but yeah, 3 weeks of football, you could get a few. So I don't know, it feels more natural to just wait. I'm sure I don't need to rush it too much. So yeah, wildcard 6 feels natural. And then bench boost 2. I mean, originally I was thinking bench boost 1, but then it's that Coventry Hull game. And with the bench boost, I am feeling very much like I want to get it out of the way. I did have half a thought of like vibing it. I've been feeling a bit vibey this season, feeling like maybe I could just vibe it and see if the stars align at some point. But I want to get it out of the way. I don't want to have to put attention. Like I suspect there's no 4 mil keepers this season, and I'm probably going to have a dead spot keeper. And I'll talk about formation in a minute, but I'm probably going to have a dead spot forward, 4.5 dead spot forward as well. So I'd really, if I'm going to do a bench boost and have a playing keeper and a playing bench, I really want to get it out of the way. So I will probably bench boost 2. That way I can get cheap 4.0 defenders still, because I don't want to kind of wrench my team out of shape too much for the sake of the bench boost. But I'll probably go for a 4.5 keeper. I mean, I think this is what I've got at the moment. I haven't thought it fully through yet, but 2 Coventry. Rushworth is apparently going to Coventry as well, and then Slater just for some defcons maybe if he plays. But this is like, we've got another month yet, haven't we, or so? So double check all this stuff. Yeah, and it's like, I know it's Coventry and it's Hull and it could backfire, but I just want to get rid of it, I think. I just want to get rid of it. Because, one danger with the Hull versus Coventry is that if you get into game week 1 and it turns out that Slater or Thomas or somebody isn't playing, you're kind of stuck because you don't want to put any money into your bench. You don't want to make bench transfers. It's not like Coventry have another fixture that you could. I mean, you could use your bench boost against Brighton at home, Forest away, I suppose, but I don't really want to do that. It's that Hull fixture is the money one, and I certainly don't want to be using the bench boost after game week 6 because I want to have some dead spots in there, I think. So you want to make sure that these players are definitely going to play, I think. But hopefully when we get closer to the time, we'll have that info. And there's just a thing about bench boost of like, because I was half considering whether it would be worth, where are we? Just having a dead spot and just sacrificing it even on the bench boost, because the maths there would be how many points you're going to get from, or how many predicted points you get from like a Rushworth in that game. I reckon probably about 4 points, maybe a bit more, I don't know, but probably about 4 points. And then how much more could I improve for 5 game weeks? Would a 5 mil defender over a 4.5 or a 5.5 midfielder over a 5, could that gain me back those 4 points over 5 game weeks? And I think probably not. I think the difference between these a 4.5 and a 5 is from looking into the numbers, it looks like it's maybe 2.5-ish, 2 or 3 points. So I think I'm probably, I mean, that's just based on, let's have a look. I was looking at some of these. Was this where I was looking? No, I was looking here. And so, I don't know, some of these 5 mils, 5.5 is like 3 points-ish, and then you get up into like early 4s. The next price bracket is like 4.5 to 5. This is per game. So it's about half a point per 500,000 is the rough average, and if you've got 5 games, that's 2.5 points. That's the kind of maths I was thinking. So 4 points from Rushworth is probably worth it to get a playing player rather than a dead spot. So I am going to try and get a full bench out, same as Slater, but I need to hope that they play. I don't really have another backup plan other than, I don't know, I could try somebody else. Ipswich versus Sunderland on game week 1. Go for some Ipswich players and just get the bench boost done then instead. Don't know. Anyway, that's the plan for now. Where are we? Overview. So that's chip strategy. So that's that. Formation is that's probably the fun thing to think about. So I'm thinking 3 at the back this season. 3 at the back, 2 4.0 defenders on my bench. I'll probably, after Wildcard 6, I'll have a 4.0 dead spot keeper. And 4.5 Slater will end up being a 4.5 forward, I think, and a dead spot probably, because the 4.5 forwards are crap. None of them are really playing. I'll just leave it as dead spot, because these defenders are better. I'll go through it one at a time. So formation. So like last season, it was like I was leaning towards 5 at the back because of Defcon. But this season, I'm shifting to 3 at the back for a few reasons. Firstly, I think there might be more goals this season. I'm just re-recording this because I had some sound qualities in the first one, so I'm going to pick up where I left off. So I think I was talking about the formation, why I'm going 3 at the back, and one of the reasons is because I think there are going to be more goals this season, is my punt. So the time wasting rules from the World Cup I think are going to be introduced into the Premier League this season, and that led to like the most record number of goals in the World Cup. And if you look at the average ball in play time for the Premier League, it usually averages around 54 to 56 minutes. And then we had one season, 23-24, when they added all this extra time, and it got it up to 58 minutes, and we had like a massive record number of goals that season. It was like an 18% boost, less clean sheets as well. Then it's gone back down to 55, 56 minutes again, the ball in play time. And at the World Cup, I don't have as much data, but it got up to 58 minutes again in the World Cup, and it was a record number of goals now. And I don't think it was just because of the expanded format and the crappy teams in the groups, because it was also a record number of goals in the round of 16 to the semi-final as well. 2.86 is still above average, 16% above. So my hunch is that it's because of that ball in play time when it gets up to 58. In the Qatar World Cup, it got up to 58, and it was like the third most goals. So not quite as much, but then you could say there are other narratives. It was a Winter World Cup, air-conditioned stadiums. I don't know. Maybe in Qatar might have been different reasons for that. And the second most goals of this list, according to AI, who sometimes talks out of its butt, but they reckoned it was 57, 58 minutes based on this link here. 57, 58 minutes. And then some of the lower ones, I mean, that one was the lowest, and it was back in 56 range. It's obviously going to be some variance. I don't have all the data. But my hunch is that with the extra time wasting rules, we could see more goals. That's my hunch. There is one narrative that could counter that, which is that sometimes whoever's won the league last, teams tend to kind of follow their lead, and it becomes a new meta. So maybe teams might start copying Arsenal style, which was more defensive. But I don't know about tactics enough, and I'm not sure that's true, because you could build a narrative that teams might do the opposite. You got Iriola, he likes to play a lot, and he's gone to Liverpool, and the Rose guy, I think his name is, at Bournemouth, he sounds like he's quite attacking. So I don't know. I like the punt of just punting. There's going to be more goals. So there's that. Let's have a look at the overview. So I was trying to think, like, how do you work out I hope I'm not repeating myself here, but how do you work out what's the best formation, best formation? And one way I thought to think about it is to look back last season and just think which position was getting the most amount of points at the highest rate, because whichever position was maxing out the points, you want as many of them in your team. And so I looked at the top 20 defenders, top 20 midfielders, top 12 forwards, and top 8 goalkeepers, because I wanted to keep it proportioned with the formation, because you only get 3 forwards and 2 keepers, and once you get down to the 20th forward, their number's going to skew the average, because it's like they're not as good because there's not as many forwards, because you're only picking 3 of them. So I think that's the right way to do it, hopefully. And with the points per 90 rate, forwards were getting it at the highest. But this includes, you've got some kind of explosive players like Osulo. When he was playing well. Obviously didn't play the whole season though. Not reliable. But when they play per 90, very explosive. And when we play FPL, you quite often you're picking players for little windows and then getting rid of them. So points per 90 is highest there, 6.24. Midfielders second, defenders third, and then keepers last. If you look at the total points, keepers last again, midfielders are the top. And then if you can see that the forwards are technically third, but they're about the same as defenders. So maxing out the midfield in terms of formation, having 5 in midfield feels like that's probably a good idea, and especially if there's going to be more goals this season, that sounds like a good idea. But it doesn't necessarily, it looks more like the forwards, if you think you're going to go hop on and hop off some of these forwards as well, looks like they would be the next best. So if you're going to have max out the midfielders, you can only have 2 forwards anyway, so it would be 3-5-2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. If you judge it by that, like that. But one of the things I see sometimes is like people will say, what about a 6 mil forward like Calvert-Lewin versus a 6 mil defender like Tarkowski? And you look at their points per 90, and it kind of seems like the defenders look better. But I wanted to kind of look into that a bit more, because so here's a bunch of like forwards from 6 mil down to 4.5. Here's a bunch of defenders, 6.5. I've started there down to 4.5, and I've got some midfielders here as well. I'm just trying to get a sense of the comparison. And if you start with the points per appearance, that's what FPL app gives you. It looks quite bad. Like most of these forwards are kind of around about 3 points ish, some in 1 and 2s. Calvert-Lewin's up to 4s. Whereas if you look at the defenders, and even if you just discount the 6.5s to keep it fair for now, but they're still like 4 to 5 points. They look a lot healthier, some of these players. So in a straight comparison like that, you'd think, well, Lacroix, Tarkowski probably a lot better than some of these forwards. But then, firstly, you want to look at points per start, because a lot of these forwards, they don't play every game. And if you think Osula's going to be the new starting forward, then that's his actual points per start rate, which is much higher, 5.88. Some of the others is not as much. I mean, Brobby didn't play every game. But once he started starting every game towards the end of the season, his points per start was a bit higher. Still 3.23 is not very good. Calvert-Lewin's was a little bit higher as well, 4.37, looking a little bit healthier. So you got that to factor in, and obviously when you buy a player, you're probably going to buy them presumably for a period where you think they're going to start, and then if they're not starting, then you get rid of them. So that's a more relevant number. Whereas the defenders don't really change much because they pretty much start every game. There's not many games where they're even subs, so their points are about the same. Then I added the more goals tweak that I think is going to happen, and I basically boosted the forwards and mids about 5% and gave the defenders a 5% deficit drop off. That's basically the equivalent of about 1 or 2 goals per forward. I think it's not much. 5%. What's his points? 76. I mean, so 1% would be less, like 0.75. So 5%. His maths, I should be able to do 3 points or something. Yeah, it's maybe 1 goal. Is that right? I don't know. I'm doing maths quick in my head, but I don't think it's much. 5%. It's like 1 or 2 goals more, and the clean sheets for the defenders is like 1 or 2 clean sheets less. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference. So I'm not expecting like a huge amount of goals. I can't remember all the maths I did on it, but I think I looked into it a little bit. But when you add that on, starts to get some of these forwards. I mean, Osula looks really good. If he can keep that rate up, I doubt he will, but he still looks really good. And there's a few 4.5s now in here. Calvert-Lewin could be good. I mean, Beto looks good if he's playing, but I don't know if he'll play. He'll split with Barry probably, but yeah, the defenders, they're about the same now. I mean, some of them up into the 5s. They're still looking a little bit better. Then you get the 1% bonus point change as well, which is like, so the bonus points, defenders will probably get 1 or 2 points less, and forwards and midfielders 1 or 2 points more. So again, that's only constitutes about 1% of their score, total score. But it just bumps the forwards up a little bit more, makes them a little bit more competitive. All of this is going to be a bit of a moot point in a minute, because I'm personally, I'm not actually comparing the forwards with the defenders. It's more the midfielders to the defenders as well. Because, well, I mean, basically they're getting close here anyway. Well, let me make this point as well, which is that because for me, once I've done the wildcard, once I've got these first 5 game weeks out of the way in the wildcard, I will then probably move Slater to a dead spot, 4.5 on the bench. 3rd on the bench, forward, non-playing, dead spot, don't care, because I think the 6 mil range of midfielders are way better than the 6 mil forwards. The forwards, it's like you've got like Calvert-Lewin, Brobbey, Igor Jesus, Osula. There's some potential there, but it's not a huge range of players to pick from necessarily. Maybe Solanke, Evan Nilsson, I don't know. Not a great range of players, whereas the midfielders, there's like loads from 6.5 all the way down to 6. Is like you got like Manzambi, like could be amazing. We don't know. Cliver, if he gets his shooting boots back on. Gamoa could be good if he starts playing. Mitoma, lots of good players who could be very explosive. Hinchelwood was starting to play well. There's like so many players to choose from. Ndai's leaving, isn't he? I think he might be going. Tav's there. Lefay, Ghana, Victor Munoz, that new player in at Liverpool. Some of these Tottenham players, if they come back, Kudos, Kulusevski, Maddison, could all be interesting. Eze, Sarr, Dango, Wilson, Elliot Anderson. So there's so many to choose from. So I want that position in my team. So I'll probably have a dead spot, 4.5, 3rd forward, 3rd on the bench. So that will be my debate. And is one of these players better than a Tarkowski? And when you start comparing these guys, well, they're already close. When you look at their points per start rate, and then you add the percentage of, like, if there's going to be 5% more goals, just 1 or 2 more goals, a little bit of extra bonus, they come out, they're pushing 5 to 5.5-ish, maybe, high 4s, early 5s. They're looking a lot more healthy. Whereas the defenders are kind of, they're not really pushing 5, apart from Nico O'Reilly, maybe. They're all under 5 now. So they're looking better. But this isn't even the end of the equation, though, because... So that's why I'll go 3 at the back, because I like these 6 mil mids. But then you've also got the really big thing, is that if you go for 3 at the back, you can have 2 4.0 defenders. And the 2 4.0 defenders are a lot better than the 4.5 midfielders or forwards. And so, you know, like, so the 4.0 defenders are actually, they look like they're kind of good. Hopefully, there seems to be a lot of options. You should be able to find some, because they're all of the promoted teams are 4.0, I think, aren't they? So you should be able to find some that will be playing regularly and will hopefully get some defcons. So you should have a good 3-4 point floor for these players, which is perfect. Whereas the midfielders and forwards, if you have them on the bench, if you've got 5 at the back, then your midfield or forward will be either 4.5, but then they're kind of crap. There's only like Slater and Crooks, and I don't even know if they'll definitely play. So you're probably going to end up going to 5.0s, and it'll probably be 2 5.0 mids you'd have to do, or something like that. I don't know. You might be able to do some rotation, but if you go for 2 5.0 mids or 2 5.0s, that's an extra 2 million on your bench. And I always do this calculation that every 0.1 million over the course of a season is worth about 2 points. So 2 million should be worth about 40 points. Because 0.1 million, we get 100 mil budget, and you usually end up about 2,000 points at least. So 0.1 is at 1,000th of 100 million. You times it by 1,000 and you get to 2,000. 2 points times by 1,000 is 2,000. It's kind of, I don't know, something like that. I've done some videos on it. That's my rough conservative estimate though. So yeah, so you got 2 5.0s on your bench versus 2 4.0s on your bench. That means you've got an extra 2 million on your bench. Whereas if I've got 2 4.0 defenders, I'll have an extra 2 million in my team in my first 11. And usually that 2 million should equate to an extra 40 points over the course of a season. Because you'll just be able to get, throughout the season, you'll be able to get to these better players time and time again. And that 40 points is like, that's what makes the biggest difference here. It's almost like an extra point, because 40 points, 38 game weeks, an extra 40 points, like, this is per game week, this score, per game. So that's almost a whole extra point. So you could almost say, you know, these guys are already, the midfielders are already looking about half a point more. You've got to add another point onto that, theoretically. So I think it blows it out of the water. I think the 3 at the back, and I'll have a 6 mil mid instead of a 6 mil defender, is what I'm thinking. So that's the structure I am thinking. Yeah, and that was one of the things that kind of like I clocked, because usually in the past, when you have 2 4.0 defenders, they're usually your second and third on your bench, and then your 8th midfielder or your 8th attacker is your first on your bench. But this season, I actually think these guys are the first and second. The 4 mil defenders are probably good enough to be your first and second on the bench. Because, I mean, I don't know, thinking back to the Andreas days and stuff, I always remember my first on my bench. I was just hoping to get at least 2 points and maybe 3 or 4, and that would do me, just as a bench option when I need. And so these guys will probably do the job. I mean, I might push one to a 4.5, the first on the bench to a 4.5, see if I can get a bit more of a chance of a clean sheet every now and then or something, or a return. Like Robinson's 4.5, isn't he? Something like that. I don't know. Yeah. And then so that means this 4.5 8th attacker can just be your last on the bench dead spot, which means I don't really care whether it's a Slater or a 4.5 forward non-playing. Doesn't matter. So I'll switch the formation. Yeah. So that's formation. That's what I'm thinking. So when Wildcard comes, I'll have a dead spot forward, 2 4.0 defenders probably, and then a dead spot keeper and a dead spot forward. 2 4.0s and maybe a 4.5, first and second on the bench. Put the money in the team. So that's that. I've got to try and remember what I said, because I recorded quite a lot, the bloody video. I need a new mixer, the sound quality. In fact, the sound quality might be bodging up now, hopefully not, but I'll keep going. So I wanted to talk about the teams. Let's have a look at the fixtures. So, because this is kind of like, so basically there are different vibes with the teams now. So the teams that I think are going to be better this season, the teams that I've got good vibes about, are Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea probably. Although new managers, you never know. Usually the narrative with a new manager is that they need a bit of time to bed in, get their tactics right. You never really... There are times when new managers win in their first season, but most of the time they don't. And most of the time the narrative is they need a bit of time to get their tactics and strategy implemented. So, they may not do well. But Chelsea, I don't know. They've got good fixtures. Apart from that Arsenal fixture, they've got pretty good fixtures at the start of the season. So I feel kind of good about Chelsea. Liverpool, Areola, looks good fixtures. Feeling more attacking. Like the sound of that. Man United, although they have lost Salah and Robertson. So I don't know. I'm feeling alright about Liverpool. Man United, feel good about them. Ended the season well. Good start to the season. Good fixtures here. I mean, you've got to go careful with narratives because last season I was sure Brentford would be crap and ended up proving everyone wrong. So narratives are a bit, I don't know, just going to vibe it. And then there's Tottenham, De Zerbi. They've managed to stay up, bought loads of new players. There's a sense of like they really don't want to repeat what happened last season. Got loads of new players coming back from injury as well. Feels like there could be good vibes there. Not bad fixtures to start. So I quite like Spurs. And then Nottingham Forest with Glasner. There, I'm not sure because they did nearly get relegated last season. So it's like they might not be that good. And Nottingham Forest, again with my conversations with AI that sometimes I have, AI made a good point that Nottingham Forest have a bit of a match of the day illusion, which is that because of the way they play very defensive, but on the counter-attack, they get a lot of their goals on the counter-attack. And so when you watch Match of the Day, they look like they're a really attacking team, because that's what I thought of Nottingham Forest as being quite an attacking team. But it might just be because I only watch the highlights. And actually, if you watch the full game, they're much more defensive. It's just their counter-attacks when they play well. So Nottingham Forest technically were kind of crap last season. So, but in terms of like an improvement, I feel like Forest might improve. I don't think they're in Europe. Are they in Europe? Where are we? Are they in Europe? Overview. Sorry. No, they're not in Europe. So I think they might do well as well with Glasner. So they're the good teams. The bad teams: Fulham, Crystal Palace, Newcastle. Crystal Palace, Newcastle lost all their players. Lost Tonali, probably going to lose Guimaraes. Lost Gordon, lost Eddie Howe. Fulham lost Silva, Raul Jimenez, maybe others. I can't remember. Harry Wilson. They barely got any players, actually, Fulham, at the moment. Then Palace lost Glasner. Lacroix, they've lost. Obviously, Gay, Eze. Lost a lot of players. So those teams feel like they could be teams to target. But again, don't want to make the Brentford mistake we made last season. And then obviously the promoted teams as well will probably all be teams to target. So they're the ones that I'm looking at. So when I look at these fixtures, like Liverpool playing Newcastle and Bournemouth at Fulham there, they look like good fixtures to me. Also, other teams that might just have a drop-off is Bournemouth without Iriola might just drop off a little. They might not, but Aston Villa, no Tielemans, no Rodgers there anymore. Man City, no Pep. Still got a good team. Maresca's still a good manager, but no Pep anymore. They could have a drop-off. And then Brighton and Sunderland are in Europe this season. So they may have a drop-off there. And just on the topic of Brighton, I think I heard one person say somewhere that they didn't have their qualifying, but as far as I know, they do. I mean, double check this, but I think they've got qualifying games for the conference here. It's because there's like 2 rounds and they don't get introduced until this final round of qualifying. But as far as I know, they are playing these 2 qualifying rounds, Brighton. And so like Chelsea are playing Brighton there. I actually think that might be a good game for Chelsea. Chelsea have got an EFL game as well, but Crystal Palace actually played a full strength team in these Conference League qualifying games last season. So they actually played 4 games back to back in midweek. So I don't know whether Brighton will do the same. They might rotate, but they might play a full strength. So they could be a bit tired going into that Chelsea game, because Chelsea will probably rotate in their first EFL game. Probably. I don't know. But don't know. Just a small thing. So fixtures, yeah, they're the teams that might drop off. And then the teams that are the same are just going to be like Arsenal, Brentford, Everton, Leeds, I think. Or just there's no real difference. They'll probably just carry on as they were, fairly steady. So that's that. And so fixtures, yeah, I like Liverpool's fixtures. Man United's fixtures particularly look quite good. Apart from that Man City one. Newcastle fixtures, well, they look all right except for Liverpool and Tottenham. I might have to bump Liverpool's difficulty rating up because maybe it's more than a grey. But yeah, I think I want to avoid Newcastle though. Tottenham's fixtures are not bad. Brentford, Newcastle, Forest, Everton, Aston Villa, maybe. Arsenal's not too bad. I think it's Man City, Liverpool, Man United I really want to target. They look really good. Leeds not too bad either. What do I want to say about this? Couple of things. One thing about the 6 mil forward. I mean, I think Calvert-Lewin's probably the best, but you could go for like a Brobby for the first 2 and then switch to an Osula for those 3. That feels nice, but I don't think I want to book transfers in, particularly because I think there's going to be enough to think about. It's going to be bandwagons firing off left, right, and centre. So I think I want to. I don't think I want to book any transfers in. And another thing about captaincy, I think I was going to talk about that later, but captaincy. Well, if you go for Haaland, you only really need somebody for game week 4 maybe as a different captain. And Chelsea are playing Hull, Liverpool are playing Fulham, so they're quite good. This is why I've got like Palmer and Isaac in my team at the moment. Partly. They've got good captains, good game week 4 captaincy choice maybe. Yeah, fixtures. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about fixtures. What did I want to say as well? Yeah, that's about that. Yeah, the captaincy. See, I don't know whether I'm going to go for Bruno. Because I don't know whether I need to have Bruno. If I'm happy to captain Haaland, and I'm not going to captain Bruno, do I need him? Because I could go down to an Mbomo and then spread that money. And I've heard some people say this idea of like having the most expensive player from each position. So if you have a Haaland, Bruno, Gabriel and a Raya or something, and then if you change your mind, you can sell them. And I always thought that was kind of weird because haven't we all got the same budget? We've all got 100 mil budget. So even if you have the expensive players, it means you're going to have cheaper players somewhere else. But I think the logic is, if I sell Bruno, I'm probably going to Mbomo, I'm going to spread that money, that 4 million around to other players, and it's much more difficult to unpick that back, to buy Bruno back in, because you spread that money around. But then, if Bruno's a flop and you decide to sell him, it's going to take you a little while to spread that funds around the other way. So I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily the right way to think about it. And I'm kind of thinking in the first 5 game weeks, it might be worth taking some punts. Like, my initial instinct with the first 5 game weeks was to not take any punts, to play it safe. And I've heard a lot of other people say this, that you can't win FPL in the first few game weeks, but you can lose it. And a lot of other managers, they'll play very template, because there's this idea of just sticking with the peloton at the start. But I'm not sure that's correct, because if there's ever a time to take a punt and take some risks, surely those first 5 game weeks are the best time, because the template is the least set at that point. There's the most amount of flux. You've got the whole season to make amends if you do bodge it. And it's very vibey at the start of the season. There's a lot of kind of like, you don't know what's going to happen. It seems like a good time to take a punt if you ever, because especially at the end of the season, the game gets more rigid, because when you get double and blank season, you don't have much choice. You have to pick the doublers and avoid the blankers, and so everybody's team becomes the same. So it's going to be hard to differentiate at the end of the season. And if you want to take risks because you know what your rank is and stuff, it might be harder to do so. And the whole peloton idea, I don't know if that's the best analogy, because if you manage to get a 20 odd 30 point win from a risk, from a differential in the first 5 game weeks, that's just yours for the whole season, because you can just join the peloton game week 6, join the template, and they'll just never catch you, because you can just, it's like, I don't think it's the peloton, it's the wind resistance thing that makes the difference, but we don't really have that in FPL, so I don't think the analogy translates. So I'm kind of thinking maybe it's worth taking a few risks in the first 5 game weeks. I've got to go careful. I'm feeling a bit more vibey this season. A little bit. I've been playing more and more conservative the last couple of seasons, and now I'm starting to feel a little bit more vibey. I don't know how long it will last. Maybe it's just pre-season feelings. And once the game starts, I'll actually, knuckle down and just go back to conservative again. But feeling a bit more vibey, so we'll see. What did I want to say? Let's just go with this list, because I may be repeating myself. How many premiums should you have in your team? There's a chap called Joshua Bell who won it before, and he did this video going into the maths, and I remember him studying mathematically that the more premiums you have in your team, the more likely you are to get more points overall. That always stuck with me, because I think my intuition is to not think that, to kind of spread the money and have a good team rather than just the big premiums. But that's the only kind of like mathematical backing for that idea. And he's obviously a clever bloke, and he's won FPL. So I kind of think maybe there might be something to that, which is part of the reason why I've kind of gone Haaland, Bruno, Isaac and Palmer. And then just to kind of Sangare, he'll be like a playing player every week, just so I can get these extra premiums in. I don't think I'll end up like this, though. I think I'll end up spreading my money, but it's a thought that I might think about more. How many premiums to put in your team. I'll look into that again sometime, but that's an interesting thought. What is that? I've said that. My transfer strategy, again, because we've got these 5 free transfers that can roll, I'm going to be quite liberal with using my transfers at the first 5 game weeks, because there's so much flux, so many bandwagons. I want to jump on them. But then later in the season, I'll probably start being a bit more prudent and not using them so much and trying to roll them, possibly even rolling them right towards the end, like having an eye to just keep rolling right towards the chip season, double season. I don't know, but we'll see. And with bandwagons, early bandwagons, last season I remember coming to the conclusion that if there's a player who's an early bandwagon, everyone's going for him, if that player was already in my ballpark of players I was considering, I might just jump on them anyway. Like, I won't be too resistant to it. I'll just get it, even if it's not a player I absolutely loved, I'll just go for it and just get, because I want to farm the value. I think team value is important. I never seem to end up with a lot of it, and I feel like I kind of want to lean that way. But it's tricky, because last season there was a few, like Pedro, I think Semenyo, and Reinders had a little. There was a few that were early bandwagons, and unless I'm really sure I want to bet against it, like Reinders, I didn't fancy, and that one worked out. I didn't go for him, and he didn't end up doing that well. But I did get stung by not going. I didn't jump on Pedro and Semenyo, I think, and I ended up getting stung by that. But there was others, like I think Chris Wood started the season well, and he was an early bandwagon, and then he just fell off a cliff, like didn't do anything. And so it's not always the case that, you know, you're jumping on an early bandwagon will do well for you. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to use our intuitions and kind of just try and vibe it. But yeah, I don't know. I might try and be a little bit more open to just jumping on a player who I don't absolutely love, but if they're a bandwagon, just go for it and get the money and try and get the team value. And also, you know, what I was saying about like 0.1 being worth about 2 points over the course of a season. Well, if you've got a player who's going down 0.1 and another player's going up 0.1, effectively that's like worth 4 points theoretically over the course of the season. So you could argue that that's worth a hit. Feels a bit like I'm just trying to make excuses to take hits, but I still kind of think theoretically that might be right. And so at the very least, I feel much more open to hits at the start of the season, even though I haven't taken a hit for about 2 or 3 seasons, or since the 5 free transfers thing has come in. But I still might be open to it. Maybe we'll see. We'll see. Yep. And like loss aversion as well. Because I'm feeling a little bit more aggressive. Maybe I've been looking into things like stacking at the back again, like defenders when you have 3 at the back and of the same team. And I might try and look into things like this. In FPL, you often get this situations where you can either raise your floor, lower your ceiling, which keeps it nice and safe, and you'll just get a nice safe average score, and you kind of guarantees you a nice high floor, but you limit your ceiling. Safe way of playing it, but you're guaranteeing yourself an average score. Or you can go a route where you raise your ceiling but you lower your floor, so it's much riskier, and your average might be the same, but you've got a much wider outcome spectrum of outcomes you can get. And I feel like I think I want to play more like that. I mean, certainly the average, anything that's going to get the average up, whether it's high ceiling, low floor, or what the other of the opposite. If the average is going to go up, that's the most important thing, the EV thing, which is why I quite like the idea of stacking defenders, because if Arsenal's defence is good and they're all better EV, then just get 3 of them. And if you just get 3 of their defenders, then your overall EV will be much higher. Now, technically, you've got your ceiling and floor is much higher there, because 1 goal and that's a clean sheet wipeout and you're out. But 1 clean sheet and you get a triple clean sheet. So it's a much broader range of outcomes. But, you know, if you spread your bets, you might be safer. But then if you do that every game week for 38 game weeks, it will probably still even out. Like sometimes Arsenal will get a clean sheet wipeout, but then other times they'll get their clean sheet, and it'll probably over the long run will work out anyway. So stacking means that you've got higher EV at least. I think that's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to find ways to be a bit more aggressive, and I'm trying to get over that loss aversion, because, you know, whenever I see 3 at the back, 3 of the same team, all I can see is a clean sheet wipeout. But that's not necessarily true. It's like I could get a triple clean sheet there. And apparently in psychology, human beings are twice as more likely to hate losses than they are to love gains. We're more naturally loss averse than that we love gains. So yeah, loss aversion. I'm trying to get past that if I can. Yeah. Oh, another thing I was trying to think of as well is like I want to try and think of the future rather than the past. In the World Cup fantasy, I picked Cancelo over Mendes because Cancelo had a better record for Spain instead of Mendes. But of course, he's the past. Mendes is the future, and Mendes ended up doing much better. And I think I want to try and think about that a bit more, like try and think like thinking there's going to be more goals this season. I want to try and predict the future, rather than just reacting to the past a bit more if I can. Yeah, I think that's about it. Is there anything else I want to say? I think that's about it. Yeah, hopefully the sound's held up. I think I'll leave it there. But yeah, so I've only really been thinking structural things. These players, I think I almost want to wait for pre-season before I choose. I might vibe it a little bit. I need to get the defense better. This isn't really done. I kind of want to make a new model as well. I've been thinking about doing a new model. I'm not even sure a model matters hugely at the start of the season because it feels more vibey, but yeah, I might make a new model. I don't know. I'm going to stop talking. I might make a new video when I've got a bit further, but I'll leave it there for now. So, okay, thanks for listening. See you later. Bye-bye.